Today, we're going to dive into a key question that people ask when they're buying hard disks for mass storage, and it's which drive type do I choose? And this is especially true for Western Digital, who have a fairly complex array of products which are mostly, but not all, based on their WD's color range. The assumption might be to buy the disk that is segmented to my use case, e.g. it's desktop, it's surveillance, it's NAS or enterprise. However, for many reasons, this may not be the best course of action, so let's dive into why. We will look at all the options, what their good and bad points are, and then compare them for price to see which is the best pick. So rather than just go for vendor segment, which is blue or black for desktop, purple Pro for surveillance, red Plus or red Pro for NAS, and Ultrastar or gold for enterprise, what else should we consider? And the main things I want to focus on are going to be warranty coverage and reliability, which are not the same thing, and then noise, and above all, price. I have a previous comparison on the Seagate NAS versus enterprise disk, and my conclusion there was that for the majority of use cases, Seagate enterprise drives were a better choice, and that remains the case now 6 months later, and I'll link that video down below. In that video, I also expressed my misgivings about Western Digital following some bad issues around transparency with their SMR drives, but having also done some deep dives on drive reliability, it is hard to ignore the impressive reliability that we see from WD's drives, and given that I started buying some Ultrastars myself, I thought it was time to give a full comparison on what WD has to offer based on the price points, which are becoming competitive again. For the Toshiba fans, I will likely do this for Toshiba drives also in the future. So let's start by talking briefly about the various offerings that WD have and how they position them. Firstly, there are their blue range of disks, and these come with 2 years warranty, and they have a lower performance class, meaning that they have lower data throughput, and there still remains some really opaque mix of CMR and SMR drives here. SMR being shingled magnetic recording, which I'll talk about shortly. Given desktop may not need high performance, SMR may be okay here, but you should know it will generally mean far lower long-term sustained write speeds. So if you're saving or backing up very large files, probably avoid SMR. And if you'll use these with any type of RAID, you should certainly avoid SMR. You will need to look very carefully at the model numbers to identify which are SMR, but at least WD do now disclose this detail. If you want to know more about SMR, then take a look at that video I mentioned before. I go into it in great detail there, and this is the main thing that stopped me from buying any WD products for about 3 years. Even now, I'm thorough in checking the specs, and if I find what I think is ambiguous, I just don't buy the products. In short, SMR or shingled magnetic recording is a technology to increase drive areal density, or put simply, how much data you can fit on a disk platter, but it has impacts from a write performance perspective. Fortunately now, SMR is primarily limited to the WD blue and red disks. For the blue disks, the CMR or non-SMR disks are not much more expensive, and I personally wouldn't just touch SMR at all for anything other than cold storage, and even then, it would need to be compelling price-wise over the CMR equivalent. Blue disks also have lower spindle speeds, either 5640 or 5400 RPM, which will reduce throughput and seek performance, and they're not designed for 24/7 operation. All that said, I did a lot of data analysis on disk failures, and it turns out that desktop drives from all the manufacturers are statistically likely to last just as long as enterprise disks, and they have similar failure rates, even when they're run 24/7. You can check my channel and subscribe for a lot of in-depth failure rate analysis on this. So next is the WD Black range, and this is also a desktop drive, but it's segmented for gamers and high performance workstation use. The spoiler is that it's overpriced for what you get, and the price tag is inflated by marketing. However, it will give you similar performance characteristics to the high-end NAS and enterprise disk, and it may be a little quieter as the firmware will be optimized for slightly lower performance to reduce noise from the head assembly and the drive. If you want performance and the machine is somewhere that would disturb your sleep and you're willing to pay the premium, maybe it's the better choice for you, but honestly, it can be up to a 50% price premium, and the capacity drops out at 10 terabytes. We then look at purple surveillance drives, and these come in either a purple or a purple Pro option. The purple are very similar to the blue drives with 5640 and 5400 spindle speed, similar cache, and around 215 megabits per second sustained performance for the 8 terabyte version, which is the same as for the blue range. It looks to be based on the same platform, but just branded differently without any SMR, and they do come with a 3-year warranty. The one concern I have on the purple is that of transparency. The marketing material makes some claims of 5040 RPM and then some magic to make it perform better than 7200 RPM, but then the online data specs say 5640 RPM, and then the datasheet just omits the RPM entirely. There is some claim that they're optimized for write performance, which could be done with some kind of flash caching, But in my experience is that when Western Digital are not transparent, then they have something to hide. Next to the blue, however, it could be a better choice if the price is right. The Purple Pro appear to be the same drives as used for the Red Pro and the Enterprise drives. They come with a 5-year warranty, the same cache sizes as those Enterprise drives, and they have the same workload rating and MTBF and the same spindle speed and similar throughput performance. So the primary selection criteria here is likely just price. The next product set are the Red ranges, which are the NAS focused drives, and that's network attached storage. In my view, the current WD Red drives are dead on arrival. These were the drives that were stealth released with SMR, which is a terrible NAS technology. WD had a lot of backlash, and they eventually pulled some marketing jiu-jitsu to try and create a new Red Plus range that were really just the old Red range, and then they turned the Red range into SMR drives. I think all the evidence is there in the market, and almost nobody stocks these drives, likely because no one buys them. Stay away from these. The spindle speed isn't even clear, and the datasheet lists the rotational speed as 5400 RPM class, so not even just 5400 RPM, so who knows what that really means. So these drives deserve their place in purgatory. The Red Plus are just what the Red drives used to be. These are the CMR drives with a mixture of spindle speeds varying from 5400 to 5640 to 7200 RPM. They provide the same 24/7 workload guide of 180 terabytes a year as the WD Purple drives, and these drives are really only compelling if they are significantly cheaper than the others, which we will see they are generally not. They're going to be quieter, however, than the higher grade drives, so if you're looking for quieter drives, compare these to the Purples. I will be getting to that price comparison once we've covered the Red Pro and the Enterprise drive options. So the Red Pro drives are the other NAS offering that really brings the Enterprise grade stats. These come with their 5-year warranty and the technical specs of the Purple Pro, as well as the Ultrastar and Gold Enterprise drives, namely 7200 RPM, 2.5 million hours MTBF, and vibration sensors so that they can have unlimited drives co-located in the same chassis. They state a slightly lower data rate than the Enterprise discs, and this is likely because the firmware is tuned to make them a little quieter. However, I run both Red Pros and Ultrastars in NASes, and despite the Red Pros having anecdotally a little bit of a quieter performance, they're both still noisier than the desktop class discs. WD have 2 Enterprise ranges. They have the Ultrastar disc from the HGST acquisition, and if you check my videos on disc reliability, you'll see that these are really class-winning discs for reliability. The Gold range is WD's historical branding for Enterprise discs. However, the badly kept secret is that today, these are all really just built on the HGST Ultrastar platform. WD had deprecated the Gold range, but there were many customers who were loyal to the Gold brand, and this was a drive that was sold heavily through distribution channels, so there was a real risk that these WD Gold customers would go to Seagate or Toshiba, so for this reason the brand was reinstated. But they are really Ultrastars with different branding, so it just comes down to price, which is preferred. The Gold, similar to the other models I've covered up to now, is only available in one simple part number per capacity, and it comes with a SATA interface only, whereas the Ultrastars come in a variety of models, including SAS and SATA, as well as 512E, 512N, 4KN formats, and a variety of hardware encryption options. So now we understand all the options, let's look at some real-world price comparisons and see if we can identify where the best value options are and see if there are better choices than just buying the drive that is marketed to our segment. And the spoiler is that there are. Different sellers offer different prices, so to get a good picture, I'm going to look at 2 big resellers in the US and 2 in the UK. The actual prices are less relevant as these are going to change on a day-to-day basis, but what is interesting is the price per terabyte comparisons across different product lines. So this is what I will show, but if you want to know the prices, I'm going to show them briefly just before I go into the price per terabyte heat maps. You can pause the video if you want to and look at them, but the prices here could be different tomorrow. Now, I know that I have viewers around the world, but looking at the UK and the US, we can see if there's a broader trend, but please do shout out in the comments the names of your favourite resellers in other countries, and I can take a look in the future. So first of all, we're going to start with B&H, who had the best product selection in the US that I could see. In all these tables, an X means that the product isn't sold in this capacity, and an NA indicates the product wasn't available for purchase from that seller. Other than the WD Red, which is SMR, all drives in this video are CMR, and I've excluded the WD Blue SMR options for simplicity, though the price differences were actually minimal. So we look at the price heat map and it just shows the drive price, with the lighter blue being cheaper and the darker blue the more expensive. So no surprise to see the dark colours at the bottom where the larger capacities are, but Comparing the capacities above 14 terabytes, we can see that the Gold, for example, is significantly more expensive than the Ultrastar, and it's effectively the same drive. However, the Gold is giving more options at the lower end. Looking at the more interesting graphic, which is the cost per terabyte heat map from B&H, we see that the most expensive per terabyte in red, going through yellow to green for the most cost-effective solutions. So we can see that the price per terabyte tends to drop at higher capacities, but even drives of the same capacities vary greatly, with higher end drives often not being more expensive per terabyte. This area here is the sweet spot and is actually the highest end unit, the enterprise grade Ultrastar, that gives the best value, with the Red Pro a little behind. Remember that the Gold, Ultrastar, Red Pro and Purple Pro have near identical specs with just some small firmware differences. If you want a cheap drive of up to 8 terabytes, then the blue is the cheapest option as it's priced aggressively. Just be aware of the model number differences for CMR versus SMR drives, and it's about a 25% premium to go up from these to a Red Plus disc. Now let's look at the Newegg supplied drives, and this does exclude their marketplace sellers. Again, the sweet spot is in the same on the higher capacity top end units. However, if you really do want something in the 4 to 8 terabyte range, again, the better price units are the blue, with the Red Plus again at about a 25% premium. Now moving across the pond to the UK, and things are a little different, as the blue desktop drives are not so aggressively priced. At Scan UK, if you want an 8 terabyte drive, then the Ultrastar is actually the cheapest option and gives you the warranty and performance stats at a discount. Again, the Ultrastar is broadly the cheapest option per terabyte and a significant discount on the WD Black if you're looking for a high performance disk. In fact, the black drives are the worst for value in the entire range here. eBuyer, again, it's the same story, with the Ultrastar as well as the Gold providing the most bang per buck across almost all capacities that they have in stock. The WD Black is again a premium, and the higher capacity Ultrastars are a bit more expensive from eBuyer than Scan, but they're still the best value option that they sell. So almost no one is selling the WD Red SMR drives, which are only available from Newegg and only in 2 capacities, and where they're not much cheaper than the Red Plus, to be honest. So for sure, there is no reason to buy these, and this is likely why most resellers don't appear to even stock them. So before I finalise my conclusions here, please like this video if it's useful or interesting, and consider subscribing. It's really appreciated and it really does help grow my small channel. 96% of my views are from non-subscribers, so if you want to see more, consider that. So my conclusions. Purely on a cost per terabyte, the Ultrastars seem to offer the best value, and as I've covered before, they are excellent drives. They come with the best performance characteristics as well as a 5-year warranty. The power draw is going to be slightly higher, but we're talking about a watt or two typically, and when they're in use they will make a more audible noise. The power and the noise is going to come from more aggressive head movements that also provide for better data transfer rates. Personally, it is an issue for me as my NASs are either racked or in my office, but you may not want one of these enterprise disks reading and writing all night if you have a PC in your bedroom, for example. If you're really looking for a smaller capacity disk, then you can look across the heat maps and find the best bang for buck at the capacity that you want. But just don't exclude surveillance, NAS or enterprise drives from your search, even for use in a PC, if you can get them at a better price point. You get better performance and you get a longer warranty. In the US, the blue range does seem cost effective at the smaller capacity end, but it's a different story in the UK, so you're going to need to check your local reseller. And the main takeaway is, don't just buy the drive that is aimed at you, because WD's marketing team have you as the target audience. Gamers especially. PC component manufacturers know that they're willing to spend money on their rigs, and they add a branding premium for that. If you're considering a WD Black, consider the Purple Pro, the Red Pro, the Ultrastars or the Gold, which all have around the same performance, specs and warranty, if you can get them at a better price. They're all going to be pretty much the same drive under the covers. So thank you for watching to the end, and I hope you found this useful, and I will see you in the next.